Well, thank you all for joining us today. This is amazing. This is the biggest thing that CNHP has ever done. And we are so delighted to have you here and spend the day with you. It's really a huge pleasure. If anyone would like access to I'll start with some little housekeeping things. If anyone would like access to the wireless here in the Laurie Student Center, just go to the CSU guest, and there is no password needed. You should be able to just log right in. This is a beautiful and newly remodeled building here that you're in, and there are bathrooms this way down the hall. If you take a left and another left, there is an all-gender bathroom in that location. There are also lactation rooms in this building. To get to the nearest one of those, you take a left out of here and then another left down the hall, and then you'll see a carpeted hall on the right, and you'll want to take a right in there, and you'll see signs to the lactation room in there, and it's very nice. It has a sink in it. There's also AEDs. Some of us are starting to age into the AED world. So those are located there's one just outside the door to the left. Let's hope that that's the last we talk about an AED today. How many of you have been to 3 of CNHP's partners meetings? Would you raise your hand? Wow, very good. How many have been to 2? And for how many of you is this your first CNHP Partners meeting? Oh, fantastic. Wow. Well, welcome all of you. I wanted to just sort of set the stage for what we're doing here. I'll talk about the purpose of the Partners meeting, and we'll have a welcome from the Dean of the Warner College of Natural Resources, John Hayes. And then we're going to do some introductory stuff with you to help us all get to know each other. And I'd like to talk with you about our students and our donors and tell you about some of the things that we have going on with them. And wanted to very specifically thank a few people, our Dean, John Hayes, and wanted to thank the other Heritage Program partners, one of whom is here with us, Gary Beauvais, the director of the Wyoming Natural Diversity Database, for their innovations in hosting meetings like this. And the idea to do this came from the Montana Natural Heritage Program. So I wanted to shout out to them, and wanted to thank our moderators for panels. Rick Schneider, who's the director of the Nebraska Natural Heritage Program, came here from Nebraska to join us, and Renee Rondeau is on our conservation planning team, and she's our other moderator on the CNHP staff. And wanted to thank everyone who's joined us today as a panelist and speakers before our panels. Thank you so much. And also our CSU students who have joined us. And really wanted to thank Conference Services. You guys have been fantastic to work with and really lower my blood pressure. And of course, everyone who's joining us here today. So we have a really rigorous agenda today, and we love all of you. But in order for us to get through all of these speakers and agenda items, we're just going to have to really keep everyone on time. So we have a timekeeper who's Sierra Crumbaker, and she's right here, and she's going to step up here and tell you how the times are going to work.
Hey everyone. So just real quick, I'm going to be sitting right there in the front, and when you come up here to speak, just try to look at me occasionally, because I will, I know, right? Please do, because I'll have these cards that will just give you a gradual countdown of how much time you have left, and then we can kind of keep on track for the rest of the day. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much, Sierra. That's a very important job for an agenda like this. And it is important to note that the colors increase in their warmth towards the red 1-minute card. Sierra has a black card. She's ready to play as well. She is black belt in Taekwondo. And we really don't want her to use that black card. So some of the things that you have here in front of you are, one of them is our new strategic plan, and we are very proud. This is the nicest strategic plan we've ever had. We want to thank our college for helping us produce such a nicely formatted document. Tasha Jupiter did a fabulous job formatting it. This is the first time that we've had a really outward-facing strategic plan that we wanted to share with you this way. And, okay, thank you. And it includes a values statement that embraces CSU's principles of community, and we're really proud of that. Another thing that you picked up on your way in is a bingo card. This was an innovation developed by Bruce Rittenhouse, one of our panelists. It was his idea to do this. As we go through the partners meeting, when you hear one of the words on your bingo card, just cross it off. If you win a bingo, please just shout out that you have won. We have really fabulous prizes you will treasure for you when you win. And so I wanted to just sort of set the stage of who we are and sort of the background for why we're doing this. The Colorado Natural Heritage Program is part of CSU's Warner College of Natural Resources. And so we are a unit within our college, and there are quite a lot of other units and programs in our college. We're unique at CSU in that way. Those include Colorado State Forest Service, Colorado Forest Restoration Institute, Center for Collaborative Conservation, Center for Protected Areas Management and Training, Center for Environmental Management and Military Lands, Larval Fish Lab, and CSU Extension, among some others. And they are all represented here one way or another today. And there's other units outside of our college that we work with too, like the CSU Herbarium and the Public Lands History Center. And the nice thing is that it's easy for all of us at CSU to work together and collaborate because we're all under one roof, and we've been working really proactively on increasing that kind of collaboration. So this is half of our identity at CNHP. As part of Colorado State University, we're also a network program within the NatureServe network. And like National Park Service, there's a Washington office of NatureServe, the nonprofit to which we belong as a member of the NatureServe network, that's based here in Boulder. And two of NatureServe's staff are here, Keith Schultz and Shara Howie. So welcome to both of you. And so it's through our membership as part of this network that we can join more than 80 other member programs across the Western Hemisphere to come together and help solve some really critical and interesting conservation dilemmas. And here's an example of one. When we discover a rare species that we know is extremely rare, we're able to all come together to help understand it and figure out management strategies. And in the case of this one, I was going to see if Tom and George Schisler and Frank McCormick might like to go help folks out in the Amazon to set up a fishery for this, a hatchery maybe for this. So we'll deal with that at the Ramskeller session. So the partners meeting is philosophically intended to bring us all together as a conservation community. And we've done these every 2 years since 2014. So this is kind of how that's gone. The first one had about 75 of you. I think most of those 75 are here, judging by the show of hands. And now we're up to 153 people who've RSVP'd. And since there's 150 chairs in the room, it looks like we've just about hit that. Oh, and so the purpose of the meeting is, well, firstly, to wish our staff member, CNHP wetland ecologist, Sarah Marshall, a happy birthday. So Sarah has just been given a cake by her supervisor, Joanna Limley. thank you for not singing happy birthday to her. She asked that we not do that. Yeah. Whoops. And so the other purposes of today's meeting are to connect the key members of Colorado's conservation community. Yes, thank you, Sierra. To address the priorities that you identified at the 2016 partners meeting, where we had breakouts to figure out what you needed to work on. And to provide a forum for communication across conservation efforts, enhance our collective effort, effectiveness by networking, de-siloing, and leveraging ourselves, kind of put a spotlight on some important conservation developments, and figure out what we can address together as a group of partners. So our agenda is ambitious. I'm trying to be on time now that I'm about to get a black carded. And I wanted to really point out in our agenda these three elements. We really structured the day around these three panels as our main topics for investigation today. But in the spirit of the partners meeting, these are what are extremely important here for us to build our networks and get to know everybody and increase the opportunities we have to work together. So those, I feel, are equally as important today. And I wanted to welcome you again to CSU. Showed these slides in 2016. These things turned into beautiful LEED certified buildings on our campus now. And we now have a very large stadium, and that's done. But the construction never ends on a university campus, and so we're building a new Warner College of Natural Resources addition that is beautiful, and I'm going to let John Hayes take it from here. And in August, it's going to look like this. And so, thank you, John.
Well, good morning. You know, hearing Dave's presentation and the introduction, it really occurred to me, I get asked to do a lot of these welcomes, and you think about this, well, why do you ask the dean to do a welcome? And it occurred to me that it was much like Dave's initial introduction about the AEDs. You know, you feel like you gotta do it, but you hope it's not of ever importance, and you probably won't talk about it again for the rest of the meeting. But so anyway, I'm actually going to start out with a bold statement that maybe will strike you as a bit audacious here. But I want to tell you that, you know, I work for a great institution, and the work that I do makes an impact on the world. And I think that probably each and every one of you can make that statement. I hope you can. I hope you feel that way. And, you know, but one of the things that I've realized, as true and sincere as I am in making that statement, it's increasingly clear that no matter how great our institution that we're working for, our organization might be, that the positive impacts that we can make, we can't do that alone. We need each other. We can create some level of impact independently, and we do every day, but the impact that we make together is more than the sum of those parts. And to me, that's what meetings like this is about. There's organized pieces of that where we're going to explore ways that we can work together and kind of get ideas out on the table. But, you know, as Dave said, the more informal elements of this are oftentimes equally or more important than the formal part. So I'd really encourage you to take advantage of that. And as you're going through the meeting and your day here, think a little bit about the way that you can take the resources and the elements of the programs that you work with and work for, and bring those together with partners around the table to create a sum that's a whole that's greater than the sum of the parts. So I wanted to just very briefly introduce three different efforts and initiatives that we're doing here in the college, in part because I'm really excited about them, but hopefully this might plant a little bit of a seed. Number of these things interface and interact with the with the activities that you're going to be talking about over the course of the day today. And where it's possible, I just wanted to let you know that you have a very interested and willing partner in me in trying to work with you on these initiatives and the other things you're doing and you're talking about today to move things forward. The first, Dave already mentioned briefly. We have a number of centers and institutes that are either within our college, and for those of you playing bingo, I'll repeat that, within our college. And we're really looking for ways to do what I said at the beginning, create some impacts from those programs that are broader than the individual programs themselves through those linkages. A lot of that work and focus is admittedly inward-looking to our college and taking programs like CNHP and Colorado State Forest Service and Colorado Forest Restoration Institute, the Center for Collaborative Conservation, our extension efforts, and other programs across the college and the university, and building something that's bigger. But inevitably, that's going to involve outside linkages as well. And so these discussions we're having on this are really on the kind of the front end right now, but really looking for ways to strategically build on the impacts and the great things that those programs are all doing already. And we'll look forward to partnering with those of you not in the university to move some of that forward. The second is an initiative that a number of you are familiar with that we've been kind of moving forward over the last couple of years that we're calling our initiative for conservation on private lands. And this is morphing in a variety of different directions as it moves forward. And right now it's a bit more of a looser assemblage of activities and programs than I suspect it will be in a year or two. But I think that this really is at the heart of the soul of a lot of what you all are engaged in. I'm so happy not to see Sierra holding up a piece of paper already. But I think that, one of the things that we've come to the conclusion is that there's still a lot of great work and important work to be done on public lands. But to some extent, our generation of knowledge focused on private lands and our training of the next generation of land managers who'll be working on those lands and getting that information out to landowners is something that we haven't done as effectively as we might. And so we're trying to pull together some programs and initiatives to really directly engage in that more effectively and to move that forward. And I'm really excited. I think that two of the three panels that you'll be engaging with today really hit that very directly. The panel on Colorado's Conservation and Environmental Review Tool, I think really could provide some exciting opportunities for the state as well as for our programs to help affect that. And we're completely supportive of the efforts to get that, to engage with CNHP and other organizations to move that forward. And the other that I'm learning more about, and Dave debriefed me on this 3 or 4 weeks ago maybe, is the idea of these private land conservation services programs. And that's just a really exciting idea and kind of really manifests some of these things that we hope to be able to accomplish. So I'm excited about both of those. And the final initiative that I want to share with you that we're going to be actively looking for partners, and already talked with some of the folks in the room about this, relates to an important initiative and a set of initiatives really that we're actively moving forward in the college and in the university with respect to diversity and inclusion. Take a look around the room here. Would you think that the demographics of this population here closely reflects that of Fort Collins, the state, the country? It's a rhetorical question. Sometime between the year 2040 and 2050, the majority of the people in our country will not be white. We've got a long ways to go to have our community and our group of individuals who are leading our natural resources and conservation efforts reflect the demographics of our country. This isn't about political correctness or anything like that. This is about really both engaging diverse populations, developing the commitment and the engagement of them in the future of our natural resources and environment, and having a variety of different voices with different cultural backgrounds and heritages reflected in our decisions that we make for natural resources. I think this is a critically important point in time for us to move that forward. And so we're really trying in a very deliberate way to make an impact in that through our efforts in the college, the Warner College of Natural Resources, the Warner College of Natural Resources for the bingo players. And one of the ways, we've got 3 or 4 initiatives. The one that I think is probably most pertinent to this group with respect to diversity and inclusion is this idea of creating a formal natural resources pipeline partnership. And the idea of this initiative is based on really 2 fundamental underlying hypotheses, I guess I'll call them. One of those hypotheses is that part of the reason that we have not been successful in diversifying our workforce and recruiting a more diverse student population into our natural resources programs is due to the fact that while we have a pipeline that's been created, probably everyone in this room, I suspect that this is probably true, everyone in this room, the organizations that you're in, have been thinking about these issues, and most of you probably also have programs within your organizations where you're trying to address this. But there's holes in that pipeline. To kind of point a finger internally at us, we have programs that are focused on youth from underserved populations to try to expose them to the environment and natural resources and conservation issues at the 5th and 6th grade level. We bring them to those programs, we try to plant a seed, and then we walk away, and we hope that 7 years later, they're going to remember, and that's going to make enough of an impact on them that they'll come to our college. It's not working. And I think we can, I do that pointed inward, but I suspect we could use examples across the room of where we're doing these efforts, but they're unlinked, and as a result, the pipeline has so many holes in it that we're not bringing folks into the profession. The other premise that our pipeline partnership is built on is the idea that youth and students from underserved populations have a different set of barriers than youth from populations that aren't underserved. And so identifying what those barriers and constraints are and trying to create the resources and the programs to overcome those barriers, I think is going to be essential. And so by doing those 2 things, one of them is creating this broader network and formal set of partnerships to move forward and really link together the parts of the pipeline, and developing the resources to help students from underserved populations overcome those barriers. My hypothesis is that we'll be able to make a significant impact on this issue. We're completely committed to that. Been having a number of conversations with a number of folks from organizations, many of those represented here today, and we're getting close to being ready to really knit all the pieces together in a more formal way. I know a number of you will be at the Partners in the Outdoor Conference in May, or if not, your representatives from your organizations will be. I'll be part of a panel there where we'll be unpacking this a little bit further and taking it to yet another level. So hope to see you there at that. So with that, as Dave mentioned, we're so proud and excited that we're about to have a new building here on campus, or an addition on our existing building, and it's literally going to have some of the nicest meeting space on campus, be an amazing place for our students and faculty and staff to work. And really, we're hoping it will serve as a place for people to come together. And so I'd like to invite you, the next time you have this partnership meeting, we'll find a way to use some of the resources in here as part or all of this, depending on the details of what you do. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful meeting, and I hope you are able to take what you learn here today and the networks you build in the formal presentations and in the informal pieces to really take your mission and take it to the next level. So thanks very much.
Thank you so much, John. I'm really excited that you are really championing a lot of these very important matters for our college. Really appreciate that. So we have a segment of our agenda here to get to know each other a little bit better. And I wanted to start with introducing the CNHP staff to you. Would the CNHP staff please stand up? So thank you all very much, and would encourage everyone to try to get to know them today. And I'll encourage the CNHP staff to try to get to know all of you, and we'll run that both ways. But thank you very much. And so we're going to talk a little bit about social network analysis now. This has sort of been the sort of theoretical underpinning of doing this partners meeting. Since about the late 90s, there's been a lot of studies of social networks and how they improve our effectiveness collectively. We know that our effectiveness is enhanced by having more connections, and I should explain that in these social network diagrams, a point represents a person and a line represents a connection that they have to another person. And the connections that we have ourselves among those that we work with and the size of the networks that we exist in make a huge difference for us. The diagram here shows 3 types of social networks. Each of these is weak in that most of the individuals within it have very few connections to others. And it's through effective networks that we develop communities of practice, build knowledge and relationships, become more effective, and save resources. And there are empirical studies showing this to be true. So let's take a look at our own network here. Could you raise your hand if you know 5 other people in the room? Well, that's looking pretty good. How about 10 other people in the room? How about 50 other people in the room? And so no one probably knows everyone in the room, do they? So I'm hoping that through this meeting we can make a big difference in that and improve our collective effectiveness just by adding more lines to our network diagram here. Knowing that the network of conservation professionals that we have, as it starts to become more interconnected, like this one, will be a better, stronger, more efficient, more cost-effective network. So we've been doing this for years in our role as the Colorado Natural Heritage Program, and it wasn't until recently that, and I think Don Kent at NatureServe really helped me start to understand the role that networks play in our effectiveness, that we started to understand CNHP's role in accomplishing this. And we sort of, with our first partners meeting, took ownership of this and decided, well, there's something we can do about this. We can add lines to our network diagrams. So a goal for us at this meeting would then be to add as many lines to your network diagram as you possibly can while you're here. And I think that there's really no time better than the present to go ahead and start that. So let's give this a try. Would you take a look around you? It might have to take a step or two. Find someone you don't know, and let's spend 2 minutes talking with each other, getting to know each other. And it'll get all loud, and then I'm going to have to holler and bring you all back to us in 2 minutes. Let's give this a try. Go ahead. And I really specifically wanted to thank CNHP's donors. We talked about this a little bit at the last partners meeting, but in the last 2 years, we've had an explosion of success with philanthropy and people coming forward to fund things that they're passionate about with CNHP. And these donors have all done amazing things this year in the last 2 years with CNHP. And so I wanted to thank Linda Hamilton. Linda has joined us here today. Our other donors, unfortunately, weren't able to join us here in the room today, but that's also Bill and Diane Sigley, and John Powers, and Bob Tate. We'll talk a little bit more about what Bob Tate has done with us in the final panel of the day. He's one of our panelists, but he'll be on the phone. And want to invite Rob Shore up to talk about what we've been doing with Linda Hamilton. Got a bingo. Whoa, nice. Okay. Well, come on up.
I was waiting on beer. I didn't think I'd get it till the end of the day.
Well, come on up. Okay, thank you. Tell us who you are.
I'm Irene Weber. I work for Jefferson County Open Space.
Wonderful. Well, we wanted to give you a book. And good, thank you. And we're selling these in the back. We have a bunch more. So the prizes will keep on coming. But all right, go ahead, Rob.
So Dave's walking away with his bingo card, so I think speakers are still eligible. Lee, on my card, will you check off beer and students for me? No, I'm sorry. Don't do that. Don't do
I'll
that.
let you talk while I go check her card, make sure
Okay.
it's okay.
Don't start my timer yet here. What buttons do what here? Okay. No, I'll figure it out. We'll just play around. So I know we have a tight schedule. Dave gave me a brief moment to tell you a little bit of history of a program we have here at CNHP that's kind of that seed planting process that Dean Hayes alluded to, and I'm really proud of it, and I think the rest of CNHP has really been able to shine in this venue for providing an access to education and involvement with education here at CSU and within the college. But I'm going to give you a little bit of history lesson, and obviously the one who won didn't know I was going next because beer is the only thing I'm going to talk about. Back in 2013, we lured Odell Brewing Company into producing a beer in honor of the Hops Blue Butterfly. It's a rare butterfly found along the Front Range. They graciously liked the idea and really provided a venue from that beer for us to think about conservation of things that don't typically get funded, but they gave it in such a quantity that allowed us some creativity to think about other venues that we wanted to tackle. One of those was undergraduate education within CNHP for tackling conservation biology issues. So Odell provided some seed money for us to start thinking about that. We started a crowdsourcing venue through CSU called Charge, and then we also had some generous donations from benefactors like Linda Hamilton, and more on Linda Hamilton in just a moment. But this let us start venturing into avenues of not only education, but furthering conservation knowledge in Colorado. And our inaugural student in this process was Callie Puntney. And through her studies of that very same butterfly at the Air Force Academy, she was able to model occupancy of that along the drainages at the Air Force Academy and got it published in the Journal of Insect Conservation. Following year, Rachel Mason followed up with that study and looked at patch extinction and patch colonization of that butterfly and hops at the Academy. And then from there, it kind of took off. And Blaise Newman was looking at jumping mouse habitat in Boulder County. She's now a graduate student at University of Clemson studying tricolored bats, roosting ecology. And we have one of our students on here. I'll wait to have him stand up in just a second. But Tristan Kubik documented the first known, I'm going to use a word that's not on there, myrmecophily, relationship between ants and other insects, never known to science before, between the hops blue butterfly and ants. Thinking they facilitate something of protection or other feature with the larvae of hops blue butterflies. Oh, and lo and behold, you put together a slide, and a person you don't include shows up here. Savannah Smith is also here. She modeled occupancy of bats in Colorado using acoustic calls. And this last year, we were able to involve 2 students in a study of little brown bat roosting ecology, where they followed telemetered bats throughout Yampa Valley looking at day roosts. And we were able to get Tristan back on board to study firefly populations along the Front Range. And today, he tells me he just got the genetic analysis back and found out that they're all very closely related. So from any of those lists here, including Savannah, will you stand up and let us recognize you and your efforts with undergraduate research here at CNHP? So part of that seed planting exercise that was alluded to is something that I've been passionate about, of figuring out how CNHP can reach into the students here and find the next conservation biologists that are going to lead us into the future, and I think we found quite a few of those. And the last slide I've reserved because none of this would be possible if you don't have people who are as invested as CNHP is, and one of those is Linda Hamilton. Linda, I'm going to make you stand. So, she was part of the original process when she found out that Odell Brewing Company gave us money. She liked the idea and donated then. She liked it so much that she has recently donated enough for us to create an ongoing award called the Conserving Colorado, the Linda Hamilton Conserving Colorado Award, that each year will provide a stipend for undergraduate students to tackle a conservation research project here in Colorado. And so she's made this dream that we've had of engaging them a regular occurrence for us. And I can't thank you enough, personally, and from the program, but that's how I'm able to check off your beer box in that card. Am I still under time? You haven't flashed anything at me, so I think we're good. So thanks.
Another one. All right, come on up, Eric. So, you get 2 prizes. Second prize, you really need to open this box before you must let us see what's in that box.
Got the underside.
Something might happen. Oh, I should have undone it a little bit. Oops. Sorry.
Anybody got a knife?
Here. There we go.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, it's a. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for just shot you. It has a bobblehead. What?
You're welcome. And we also wanted to give Eric a Colorado wetland plants of, I'm sorry, common wetland plants of Colorado's Eastern Plains. We have these, a whole box of these. We'd love to send those home with folks, but
Thank you.
make sure you get one now. You bet. Thank you, Eric. So we also wanted to just tell you briefly about what Bill and Diane Sigley have made happen since starting in 2016. They started an internship program at CNHP that has been wildly successful. We've hired, through their support, 6 interns each year since then. And this started with Bill's idea to give students a leg up in launching their careers. So these were our first 6 Sigley interns. Are any of you here? I don't think 26 Sigley interns are here. They're all out doing their careers now. But we have some 2017 Sigley interns. Would you guys stand up? You here? Okay. This is Kira and Neil. They're really interesting people to talk with. You should talk about what they did in their internships. It's fascinating stuff. The other thing we've been doing, and the Sigley interns have been involved with this, are bio blitzes on ranch is owned by John Powers. And John really wants his ranches to serve educational purposes. So we have been doing BioBlitzes on those ranches for the last 2 years, and we'll do them again in 2018. And most of you know what a BioBlitz is, but it's a rapid study of a particular property, and it's a way to engage people in conservation and a really great educational opportunity. So we're thrilled to be working on the Spring Valley Ranch and the Rifle Ranch now. And wanted to shout out to as many CNHP students as I could. These students have been working with CNHP or are now working with CNHP, and that includes one of our Conservation Leadership Through Learning students, Courtney Gutman, who's here from her program, and a bunch of students who are a very long list from Robin Reed's 440 capstone ESS class. But would any students on our slide here please stand up? So they would be really good people to employ. And we couldn't do what we do without our volunteers, so wanted to give a shout out to our volunteers of the year. We have many volunteers. These particular volunteers have spent hundreds of hours volunteering for CNHP, making some wonderful things possible.